So again, welcome everybody to Fieldstone4U. I'm Robin Sinclair. I'm the Executive Director. We're super happy to see you. Can't believe that it's March, like almost halfway through March. We are recording this. Just a reminder that Robin Stropko has created a really wonderful YouTube channel for us, so you can find most of our Fieldstone4U webinars on there. If it's something proprietary, we have not been able to record it, but this is going to be recorded, and you're more than welcome to share this with your team after. Renetta is going to provide a great PowerPoint presentation, and there is a document in the, I'm sorry? Oh, if you can mute yourself, that would be great. Renetta has a document in the chat. If you need it again, we'll send it again, but it's early in the chat. You don't need it now. It's for later, for when you need it, but feel free to share this with your colleagues. The history of Fieldstone4U, I can't believe it's been a year now that we did this. This was at the very beginning. We started thinking, how can we continue to provide services and resources to all of our leaders? You know, Fieldstone's mission is to help combat the isolation that typically plagues the workplace. And you can imagine what a year of isolation on top of isolation feels like. And I'm very proud that our leaders have just come out and really been there for one another, whether it's in a formal setting like a Fieldstone4U. I can't even tell you how many times I've connected people through email. Somebody will contact me and say, we need X, and I will reach out to somebody and provide that person. So it's been really wonderful to watch the synergy and the growth really of all the leaders in our network. And we're just happy and honored to be a small part of that. What has happened is I will send out periodic surveys asking people what they need. And it could be somebody says, I need some help with PPP loans. So I'll bring in Janet and Marin from First Republic. They'll provide content for that. In this case, I reached out and said, you know, if any of you are interested in presenting a topic, we would love to have your expertise. And Renetta, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, was one of those people and said, I'm happy to provide a presentation on delegation. And so if you have any kind of expertise, something that you'd like to present, we would love to have you share your expertise with our network. Housekeeping, again, just make sure that you mute yourself. There will be an opportunity to chat and interact with one another. It will be interactive. If you have particular questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Renetta will see them, and I will keep track of them, as will Robin Stropko. So we will make sure that Renetta gets all of those questions. I want to thank our sponsors, Janet Buck and Marin McGill with First Republic. We're very grateful for their fiscal sponsorship as well as just their emotional support, especially through this last year. They have been incredible, and Janet and Marin and I just had a fun chat last week. Maybe it was the week before. Janet was gone for a week in Mammoth. So welcome back, Janet. Glad to see your face. But I'm so fortunate. I can just pick up the phone and call them, and they are there for us. And I don't know how many of you got to participate with our Christmas party. Raise your hands if you got to participate, if you participated with the Christmas party. It was so much fun. I think it was the most fun activity that I participated on via Zoom the whole year. And we could not have done it without First Republic. You made us all feel very special. And at my meeting this morning with my board members, Janet, you just joined the call. It was my first face-to-face meeting with my board members in a year. I used my gold pen. And I'll tell you, I felt very important and felt very fancy using my fancy pen that you gave us as a Christmas present. So thank you to Janet and Marin. So without further ado, we're going to talk about the importance of delegation. Renetta Johnson is the Executive Director with Waymakers. Renetta has been involved in nonprofit leadership for the majority of her career. She originally joined Waymakers in 1995 and has been Executive Director since 2015. She holds a master's degree in organizational leadership. She is a frequent attendee at our Fieldstone4Us, which was what we used to do in the old days when we used to meet and have a glass of wine and have a piece of pizza and a cookie and visit and chat. So we will do those again after the summertime. In the meantime, we just have to remember, but it was always fun to see Renetta, and she's just a wealth of information. And we're so grateful that she's going to share her expertise with us. So Renetta, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen really quickly here. There we go. All right. Well, so I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on delegation. I think that delegation is something that we all tend to have some, a lot of us, I should say, have challenges with. And so I think I have some tools for you. I want this to be interactive and share your thoughts and experiences as we go through this process. And so, first of all, how many of you feel really strongly, and I'm not sure because I can't see you all, but how many of you feel strongly that you're great delegators? Can we get show of hands? Okay, so we have a couple, and just somebody want to jump in and say why you feel like you're a really good delegator.
I mean, now I have Robin, so to delegate to Robin is super easy because she's right there with me. But when I led a big team, I always really worked hard at playing to people's strengths, and I felt like that was the only way I could really help grow them as a leader, was to delegate and allow them to participate. With me looking over their shoulder, I just felt like I wasn't doing anybody any good.
Right. Okay, perfect. You've just taught the class. So Robin? Robin?
I always say I'm very good at managing up. So if there's something I know that would come better from Robin than from me, then I'm more than welcome to, she allows me to let her know that I think this should come from her and not me.
Yeah. Okay, great. Any other thoughts on that? How about somebody that struggles with delegation? What are some of the reasons that make it difficult?
Kendra, maybe you. Kendra said negative to that, so I'd love to hear why Kendra feels she can't delegate.
So I honestly might think, and it happens in every aspect of my life, professional and personal. If I know that I physically can do something or know how to do something, I feel guilty asking someone else to do it for me. It's a weird thing, but it's like, well, I know how to do that. And even though I've been told that it's not that it's showing that I don't know how to do it, it's just that I don't have time to do every single little thing, but it's a weird thing. And now being an executive director, that was the hardest part because I was the worker bee person for years and years and years and years. And then all of a sudden I got promoted to executive director. And so I realized that I knew how to do my old job, but I didn't know how to do this job. So I just kept doing my old job.
Okay.
The person I
so
hired.
We're going to help you reframe that a little bit. We're going to help you reframe your thought processes around delegation a little bit. Anyone else?
I can go.
Yes.
I thought I was pretty darn good at it until we hired some new people and they are great at it.
Okay.
And I realized just the opposite of what Robin said earlier, is that perhaps I've held a few people back because I didn't give them more responsibility, didn't delegate more. I was trying to teach everything first instead of letting them get in and explore and help navigate and come back to me, etc. So
okay,
I welcome whatever you can teach me.
Okay, great. I think Nadia, did you have something that you wanted to share?
Yes, and the reason sometimes I'm hesitant to delegate is because I feel like I can do the job faster, and I'll won't spend time in a meeting explaining things, and it gets done faster. However, it creates a lot of stress in me. So
right,
yeah.
Okay. So some of the reasons we don't typically delegate are because we think that we can do the task better and faster, that it will take too much time to explain what you want, that it is, you don't want to overburden your staff, you enjoy doing the tasks, The task is so important that nobody else can do it. So those are some of the things. So let's take a look at some of these myths. The first one's my people are already too busy. And first of all, I would challenge that probably for all of you, none of your staff are busier than you are. So that's something that you have to work through. But in doing delegation correctly, then it becomes all about efficiency and synergy. So it's not just throwing tasks at the wall. It's working to determine what tasks are the best to delegate, who the best people are to delegate to them. And when it's done right, you can get more done as a team and than you each would individually. And you need to look at, what's the most important thing for you to be doing in your limited time? What things are most important for you to be doing? So then second one is that training takes too long. And it's true. In the beginning, it's going to take some time to get people up to understand the task and be able to do the task in an effective way. But in the long run, if you're taking the long view, it's going to be something that can give you it'll give you more time if you are able to delegate some of these tasks. The next one is my way is really the best way. I know what I want. I know how I want it done. And so really, I'm not going to be happy with how somebody else does it. And it probably won't be done the way that you would necessarily do it, but that doesn't mean that it's being done the wrong way. And if we assume that our team members are going to do the tasks successfully, they usually step up and can do it. And they may add different ways of doing it. It took me personally a long time to figure out that my way was not the only way to do things and to give some room around that. But the more experience they gain, the more competent they'll become, and that's really helpful to their growth. And then finally, delegating is too big of a risk. And I would say that opposite to that, not delegating is a bigger risk, because you're going to be putting too much on yourself. You're not going to be able to follow through on all of the things that, if you're doing everything, you're not going to be able to do that successfully. And so you need to allow them to have an opportunity and a chance to take that. And most of the time we're pleasantly surprised by the skills and diverse perspectives that our team members bring to the table. And we're going to talk a lot about how you go about the process of delegating. We're going to give you some step-by-step options and how you delegate the different levels of autonomy so that you can do it and still feel comfortable with the process and the process that you're doing. So deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. And Jessica Jackley, it has been really prevalent over the last few years in some really great micro loan to entrepreneurs. She's done a really great job. And so I like this quote, because fact is that we can't do it all. And as leaders, we need to determine what's important that we can delegate so that we can collectively be our best team. So let's talk about some of the benefits of delegation. First of all, if we're delegating tasks. I'm sure that all of us, and Kendra was talking about this earlier, I'm sure we all have tasks that we just do because we've done them for a long time. We're good at them and we can do them easily and we can just move things forward. But if we're focusing on what is our best value, then it allows us to spend time and energy on responsibilities where it really is important that we're the ones that are doing this. So for example, focusing on board development and working with your board as opposed to submitting a routine report that is just the same all the time. Those kinds of things, you just need to balance those things out. It can increase efficiency. So if you're distributing tasks instead of you taking all of the tasks on yourself, then that allows more to be accomplished in a more timely manner. It builds commitment. So your team members feel like they have an important role to play in the process of your work, and it allows them to make meaningful contributions. And finally, attached to that is staff and leadership development. It really gives staff members the opportunity to increase their skills and prepares them for increased levels of responsibility. All right, so anybody agree with those benefits? Anybody have feelings that that's not really all that helpful? Okay, we're good. I saw a thumbs up. Just want to make sure everybody's here. So delegation is really essential to the health of your organization. If you are the only person that knows how to do certain tasks, if you're really spending so much time doing those tasks that you're working 80 hours a week or 100 hours a week and you collapse from exhaustion, you're not doing your organization very much good. So you need to look at it from your organizational standpoint. The development of your team members, we've talked about this a little bit already. So one of our most important responsibilities as leaders is to really help our team members to get experience and grow. And so those factors, they can't do that if we're holding on too tightly to the responsibilities. And then personal well-being. It's important that you are able to take some time for yourself and to breathe and to have the opportunities to do some development for your own well-being, because you are the leaders of your organizations and you need to be in a good position and have that personal well-being to be able to lead the rest of your team. All right. So next, we're going to go through the steps of delegation. And to Robbins, I can't see the chat, so if there are things that are coming up, just jump in and we can answer questions as we go along or talk about different experiences.
We're good.
We're good?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So delegation, there are a number of steps that are important if we're going to be successful in how we delegate. The first is to define the task. You really need to have a clear understanding of what it is that you want to have accomplished. So that is and that seems really obvious, but sometimes we just kind of say, well, I want to have this done, but if we're not specific about what it is that needs to be accomplished, that's putting our staff in a position where they're not really able to be successful. The second is to pick the right person. So you want to identify who in your team is going to be able to do this particular task. And it's going to depend on their experience and their skills, or it may depend on the experiences you want them to have and the skills you want them to develop. And so you need to look at all those areas. Sometimes we're looking at somebody's expressed an area of interest that they have, and so we want to give them an opportunity to expand on that. Sometimes we need them to be nudged a little bit outside of their comfort zone, and so we want to have them do things that are going to make them feel like they are learning and growing. It's also important, a trap that I think we frequently will fall into with delegation is that we have one person who's a shining star. And so everything we delegate to that person. And so what's the risk of doing that?
I mean, you're not giving anybody else a chance also.
Right, you're not giving other people a chance to grow. You may have morale issues because they may feel like you've got a teacher's pet. Robin, did you have?
You can also burn that person out.
Yes, absolutely. You can very much burn that person out. So it's important to make sure that as you're coming up with your delegation plan, that you are looking across the board at your team. Big picture, we want to help people to understand why it's important. Why is this particular activity important? And we also want to explain the reasons that we're doing this particular task. We want to communicate the level of autonomy, and we're going to go through different levels of autonomy in just a few minutes. But we want to talk about what level, how, is this something that you're going to give them fully and you're not going to talk to them about it until after it's completed? Or is it something where you're going to work with them step by step throughout the process and be closely there to help them through that process? And that can be based on the type of task. It can be based on the skills of the person that you're delegating to. It can be based on what their experience is. Even if they haven't developed that particular skill, they may have a lot of experience in other ways. So you have to look at those kinds of things. And it can also be adjusted once the task has been delegated. If you delegate a task and somebody seems to be struggling with it, then you can go to a different level of autonomy on that. You need to explore and really clarify your expected results. So you need to help them to understand what it is, what is going to mark something as successful in the end. So what are you looking for? How are you going to do that? All right. Moving on, you want to discuss what resources are going to be necessary, either what they feel is going to be necessary or what you know is going to be necessary. And then you have to do the second step, which is to provide those resources. If we are asking somebody to do something, but we're not giving them the resources necessary to accomplish that, then we're not setting them up for success. And every time you delegate, you want to do the best that you can to set up your staff member for success. You want to agree on deadlines. So you don't want to give an assignment that you expect to be done in 3 days without telling the person that you expect it to be done in 3 days, because they may think that they've got 3 weeks to do it, and then you're going to be disappointed and frustrated because it's not being completed. So set out these things right at the beginning. That will make things a lot more successful and easier. Encourage creativity. We want to take advantage of the benefits that your employee may bring a fresh eye to this particular project. And so they may come up with new and better ways to do things. They may just come up with really different ways to do things. And so you need to approach a let them know that that's okay. You don't expect them, unless it's something that has to be done, like if there's a report that has to be done in a very, very specific way, then tell them that. But beyond those kinds of tasks, allow them to look at it with a fresh eye. And that brings us to the next one, which is that we need to tolerate risk and mistakes. So if you're having somebody do something that they've never done before and you're helping to coach them through that process, they may not do it exactly the right way at the beginning. And so you need to allow for that. If we're allowing the creativity, then there may be some risk taking that goes along with that process. But all of those things lead to growth, and you can control that risk level through the assignment of the tasks and what you're willing to assign and what really you need to walk alongside with them with a little bit more to make it workable. And then finally, motivate and support. You want to let them know that you appreciate that they're doing the task, that you're there to support them at all levels of autonomy. Even if you're just saying, okay, this is fully your project, you're still there, in their leadership. And so you want to make sure that they know that you're there to help support them. And so you need to know when to coach them. You need to know when to step back and let them go, even if it's in a direction that may not be what you would necessarily do. And you need to know when to cheer for them and help them to know that you are appreciative of the work that they have done. So any questions that we have up to this point?
I just like to add, I love the big picture, because I always feel like if you know the why, just everything falls into place. And I think sometimes we do get so busy that we forget to convey the big vision, the big picture. And I just think it's a great reminder for us to make sure that we let everybody else know kind of where we're going.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Any other thoughts? Okay. So the other thing that I think we feel like with delegation is that it's an all or nothing proposal. That if you're going to delegate something, then you just dump it off and you don't have any further interaction. And that's not really necessary and isn't always going to lead to a successful outcome. So I talked earlier a little bit about the different levels of autonomy. And this, if we're using this process appropriately, and this is typically for situations that are a little bit broader than delegating who's taking the mail out. So this is for a bigger deal than that, but it can really help to lead to less stress for you and more success for the employee that you're delegating to. So levels of autonomy. The first level is basically facts and only the facts. So you've identified a problem or a task that you need to look at. You want them to look at it, let you know what they've found, and then you're going to decide what to do. So this is just, you're sending them off on a fact-finding mission, and they're coming back and reporting to you. A second level of autonomy is basically investigation and options. So you've gone one step beyond that. You've asked them to find out what the alternatives are and identify the pros and cons of each alternative. And they're going to give you that information, and then you're still going to decide what will work best. And you may instruct them to do the job, or you may take it back. Depends on the situation. The third level is investigate, identify options, and then you're going to jointly decide how to proceed. So you're going to recommend a course of action. and they're going to recommend a course of action, and then together you're going to look at, I didn't pull it up, sorry. You're going to look at how to proceed together. Okay, so this is going to be something where you may give them micro assignments in this project, and you're going to work together towards that solution. Level 4 is they're going to come up with a solution. They're going to give a general outline of what they want to do, and then they're going to wait for you to review it and give your approval or not. The 5th level is solution. So they're going to let you know what they plan to do in this circumstance. And then they have permission to proceed unless you tell them no. So they've been given the autonomy to do this, and you have to intervene to say no as far as going forward. Level 6 is that you just tell them that they're going to take whatever action that they feel is appropriate, and then let me know how it turns out afterwards, and we'll deal with the consequences after that happens. Level 7 is that same kind of taking the action, take whatever action's appropriate, and let me know how I can support you. Basically, that's saying, let me know if there's a problem, and we'll try and problem solve that together. And level 8 is, this is yours. And then you come in as a cheerleader after to debrief and see how things go. But this is entirely your project, and some of those things we just delegate out completely, and there is, there's no reconnection on that particular project, and you just assume that it's going well. Okay, does that make sense? Those different levels. Okay. Any thoughts or questions? I can't have anything.
Looks good.
Okay. All right, looks like we're okay on that. So when you are, and sorry, I didn't continue to put forward the screens there. I get caught up in talking and sometimes forget to advance. We can send you those in a separate document afterwards. So when you're delegating a project, what factors do you feel like you need to consider to determine who to assign the project to and what level of autonomy? So if anybody wants to jump in and help us out here.
Kevin.
Hi.
Thanks, Kevin.
Well, definitely, skill set, experience, passions or interests that they've communicated to us. Definitely if I have a growth, trajectory in mind for an employee, thinking about what's going to help them get to that next level. Hopefully that's good to start the conversation.
Yeah, great. Other things that might come into the thought process on delegating.
I guess I would think of what's the level of complexity of the project itself,
Okay.
To determine how much I need to be involved, or whether that person can be autonomous or not. Also looking at their level of experience in like Kevin said, in the organization, how much background information do they need to know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
It's funny how you talk about the levels of autonomy and, communicating that clearly, because part of my thing when I'm delegating, I just need to let this person to take it over, run with it, get it off my plate, and if there's a problem, bring it up. So I can identify with one of the, a couple of the levels there.
Right.
I think, part of the thing is that delegating, I wouldn't want to delegate and then be completely involved, because then there's no point.
Right. And I think that's true, and that can change over time based on you know, the skill level of the person. You may start off having to be more involved and then loosen those ties afterwards. And I think it's also really important that we're communicating what level of autonomy we're giving the staff, because we want to make sure that they understand these are our expectations for what they're going to do on this project. We don't want to leave them floundering, wondering if they have permission to move forward or if they have to hold back. Okay, anybody else?
I'm going to
Other
just look at
things-
people.
I'm sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, I'll start calling on names, but I think we're good.
We're good. The other things that you need to take into consideration are the issues of confidentiality. That is, that may be something that's important. And it doesn't mean that you can't delegate, but you just have to set those parameters at the beginning. And really the skill level and importance of the task that you're taking a look at. Okay, so we are going to break you into groups. And in the chat, at the very top of the chat, there are two separate documents. One is called Joanne's Dilemma. And so it gives you a scenario of this poor woman here that we have here, and the different tasks that she has. And then it goes through all of her staff members. And so that's the one document. Then the second document is a worksheet that you can fill out to assign tasks to delegate and the most appropriate person to delegate and the level of autonomy that you're going to give that particular individual. And there are, you know, there may be some tasks on this little chart that you feel like you can't delegate or don't wish to delegate, but that's what we want you to decide as a group. And then we'd ask for you to have a spokesperson, and depending on what our time frame is, we'll probably just call out one or two groups to report back to the large group. So we can go ahead. Yes.
I'm going to try to resend them. So I've got Joanne's Dilemma. I just resent. And then I'm going to do the other one. The worksheet.
Okay.
So hopefully you all can get those. And then I will break you up into rooms. So we've not an even amount. So we'll do like, what do you think? So 4 to a room. So we'll do 4. We'll do like 6 rooms. Okay, I'm going to break out and we'll be out for, it's 4:42, Renetta.
Yeah,
so
let's do
like 7 minutes.
Yeah, 7 minutes is perfect.
Okay. Did that work?
I think it's working.
Okay.
So I can't go into rooms. Sharing.
I think we could have used an hour just on that document.
I just think it's important if somebody else can do the work and they're qualified to do it, and you should give it up.
Yeah. So let's hope that they all come back to us.
It said it gave you 55 seconds. It was
Okay, good.
gonna spit them back.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. Okay, welcome back. So any group want to talk about their process and what their results were?
Kara, do you want to
We kind
talk
of
about
ran
our
out of time a little bit in my group, so we didn't get very far, unfortunately. I think there's a lot of discussion that maybe we probably needed to flesh out beforehand. So yeah, we didn't quite get as far as we wanted to, I think.
But the discussion is important. So Mary?
Great group. Jumped on it very quickly, and we kind of delegated tasks among us.
Okay,
Where
let's see.
one person shared the screen and one of us kept with the questions, and we went back and forth. And so I can't give you all the details other than number 1 went to high. 2, Joanne's going to keep. 3 went to Carl. 4, she's going to keep. 5 was Fiona. And either she was going to get 5 or she was going to be fired because she couldn't stay on task. And
Okay.
6 was Joanne or high.
Okay, all right. And can you share just a little bit of your discussion around that?
Would one of my teammates like to share?
That's good delegating, Mary.
Very good.
Well, they were pretty smart. They had some good things to say.
Okay, so
Not-
call out one of your team members.
Priscilla, would you love to share a little? Or Nick?
Sure. I think we went through each of the tasks and then would scroll down to figure out what team member was either thinking about a supervisor position or had a role that was similar and would be good for those tasks. And then we kind of just divvied them out and then went back to reread them just to make sure it was a good fit. So just trying to find the right position and task for each person that would make sense.
Great. So for all of you, is there one task on there that should never be delegated?
I think we had said performance reviews, performance appraisals of staff. It's
Right.
something that it's difficult. It takes such a long time to do, but it's our job as supervisors.
Yes. That is the one thing that really you can't delegate. But beyond that, any of these things can be delegated. It's just determining what your comfort level is. And so I would, there's a quote by Harvey McKay that says, delegating doesn't mean passing off work you don't enjoy, but it's letting your employees stretch their skills and judgment. And so I think that's the important thing to take away from this, is that delegation is to help your workload and help make things work better for your organization. But it's also really important in the development of your staff and your team members, and helping them to have opportunities to grow and to be more effective, so that you can, delegation's really the only way you're going to train your future leaders within the organization. So any questions? We've gone through a lot in a really short amount of time, but any questions? Yes, Robin.
I mean, obviously becoming aware of the problem is the number 1 step, so if you are a chronic non-delegator, I think if you're just aware of it, and I think that what this hour has shown me is that it's important for us as leaders to just stop and pause and look at the task and break it down and say, do I really need to be the one doing this? And is there somebody else that could do this? Because it's really the right thing for them and the right thing for the organization. Then, so it's I think a good leader steps back and doesn't insert themselves. But I would ask Renetta or ask this group, what do you do if you're a chronic micromanager? Like, how do you become a really good delegator? Like, has anybody ever been in that situation where you used to be one way and now you have evolved into this great delegator? Renetta, I mean, anybody.
Well, I was that person, so, I think that it's like anything else, it's practice. And you have to make a commitment that you're going to start delegating things. And for your own comfort level, you may need to start out small, but then just take more risks and be willing to kind of expand what you're doing. Kendra, are you still there? Are you still with us? I was wondering if we were able during this, I'm putting you on the spot, so I apologize, but I was wondering if during this process, we've been able to help you look at delegation a little bit differently.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Very much.
So are you going to go start delegating now?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Start with my husband and my daughter.
Okay. That, working with family first is great. That's a good place to start. That's a good place to start. Any other questions?
Renata, the level of autonomy is so useful, and I'm just curious if you or anybody else has perspectives on making the judgment calls on like what levels to assign and kind of how maybe that process might ebb and flow over time and just so forth.
Well, I think that it really comes down to knowing your staff and really identifying what their skills are and what their competencies are. And if you, if you're getting to know a new staff person or you haven't been doing this in the past, then you I'd start off with smaller, less vital kinds of things and test it out and kind of see. And, it never hurts to sit down with somebody and explore with them and say, okay, this is the task. We have all of these different levels of authority. It's not something that has to be secret. I'm doing this level, and you can just talk it through with them and say, where do you feel comfortable on this scale? And how can we make that work for you? And, I think the more communication you have with people around delegation, and they need to know that you're doing this for also that you're not just dumping off things that you don't want to do, that you're helping, you're hoping that this will help build their skills and give them new experiences. So I think those kinds of things are important to communicate as well.
Mm-hmm. You also touched on providing the resources people are going to need to, succeed in those tasks. I personally do sometimes find myself as a roadblock because I feel like I almost have to provide every little detail that they're going to need to succeed. And then it's like, I might as well have done it myself. Like, how can I pull myself out of that and just trust that they're going to figure it out in some ways?
Well, first of all, I think you need to communicate that to them, because I think sometimes, especially with people who are in executive director levels, our team members, no matter how much we try and get them out of that mode, just have some anxiety about doing things right. And so I think if you're communicating with them about, okay, I need you to identify what resources are going to be necessary here, and then come back and let's talk about it. And, and then when they come back, is that really all you're, seeing that you're going to need, or are there more things that are going to be helpful? I think just that communication piece for all of this delegation process is critically important. And just, there are no rules about how to do this. These are just kind of techniques that can help. but the most important part is just communicating back and forth about it.
Thank you.
Renetta, I just like to add, for me, one of the things I did, Kevin, was that what actually became part of the process was the communication part that Renetta is speaking about. And, you know, like Renetta was saying, is that a lot of times it is to help the individual to gain the better skills. And so, you know, getting them to actually go through the thought process. I mean, sometimes that's half of the battle of just trying to figure out how to get something done is the thought process, and a resource might actually be a connection that you specifically have. And so maybe they need to come to you and say, but I don't know a teacher that's in the 6th grade. Who do I go to? And then you can say, oh, well, I have somebody, and go from there. But
Right.
It's not always about connections, obviously, but you know, other resources. That's something that I found was very helpful. I don't know. It's just knowing that they're getting the chance to also learn something new at the same time.
Thanks, Wendy.
You know, Renetta, I love the resources. I would suggest that all of you use those, maybe with your senior management team, and, you know, really, so it's not just about you, because, you know, you're one person, but if you sat down with a group at your work and really went through what Renetta shared with us, I think that that might be a really neat exercise. And I think it would be, you know, something to even take into when we hire, you know, to really pay attention and like be, you know, right at the very beginning, who am I going to hire that's going to be able to do this job, and then let them do it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you need the resources sent to you, Robin, we'll send it.
Well,
Right.
I just put the PowerPoint into the chat so you guys could download it.
Perfect. And then again, this will all be on our YouTube channel, so you can come back to it at any time and share it with your team. Yeah, it's great. Great. Like I said, I could see us spending another hour on this.
Great. Well, thank you all. I know we're a little bit over time, so thank you very much. If there's ever anything I can do to, if you come up with other questions or anything I can do to help, please reach out. I'm happy to help.
Excellent.
Okay. And I'm going to put it to everybody. I've only been to one person. Sorry.
I won't end it yet. No.
Yeah, here it is.
Renetta, thank you again for giving of your time and your talent to the group. I mean, that's what Fieldstone's all about, is reciprocity. So we just appreciate this, and just think about the impact that this had. All of the leaders on this screen are going to go and really be more mindful of their delegation. And if they share with their senior team, then it even explodes even more. So
there you go.
Thank you, Renetta. Thank you to Janet at First Republic, once again, our sponsor. And if you need any resources, feel free to reach out to Robin Stropko, and she can email it to you, the deck and those resources. And really, Renetta is an incredible resource. And I know that if you have additional questions, I know that she's happy to work with you on that.
I am.
Okay, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And all of our learning groups start tomorrow and Thursday and next week. So we're super excited for the 2021 learning groups. And we have another Crossroads and Turning Points at the end of this month, which is all about imposter syndrome. So if you haven't gotten that information, reach out to Robin Stropko and she'll make sure she sends you the link. We are charging for that one, but so you do need to pre-register. But again, thank you, everybody. Be well, stay healthy, and happy leading.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. That was fun.
Hey, I like having that feature of add the file. Gotta make sure I have that all the time.